Friends, in our last story we learned how, 20,000 years ago, hunters crossed from Asia into America. But today, I'm taking you to a place that will leave you stunned. In the heart of America, along the Mississippi River, there is a quiet open field today. But 1,000 years ago, this land was home to a powerful city, a city that rivaled the greatest in the world. There were no skyscrapers, no concrete towers, but there were massive pyramids. Yes, you heard that right. Not just Egypt, pyramids once rose in the heart of America too. The name of this city was Cahokia, and the biggest mystery is this: why is it empty today? Where did its people disappear? This story begins nearly 1,400 years ago. Around 600 AD, a small village appeared along the Mississippi River. Slowly, that village grew. Then came the year 1050 and something extraordinary happened. Historians often call it a Big Bang's moment. Suddenly, thousands of people migrated here. Cahokia was no longer an ordinary settlement. Workers carried millions of tons of earth and built enormous mounds. These were not just piles of dirt, they were temples for their gods, palaces for their rulers, and even astronomical calendars. Cahokia grew so large that its population reached between 20,000 and 40,000 people. At that time, even cities like London and Paris were smaller. The largest of these structures was Mound. It was so massive that if you tried to move its earth using modern trucks, it would take hundreds of them. At the top stood a grand building, the residence of Cahokia's ruler. He believed himself to be a descendant of the sun. But how did such a massive city survive? The answer was maize corn. The people of Cahokia mastered corn agriculture. The fertile soil of the Mississippi River Valley produced abundant crops. Food was not scarce. But Cahokia was more than just farming. It was a trade hub. People traveled from distant lands, bringing copper from present-day Canada, seashells from the Gulf of Mexico, eagle feathers from the Rocky Mountains. This city was also a center of knowledge. Its priests carefully observed the movements of the sun and moon. Using wooden posts, they created a giant solar calendar known today as Woodhenge. But then, something happened, something that still puzzles historians. Around 1300 AD, the great city began to empty. By 1400, almost no one remained. What went wrong? Scientists suggest several possible reasons. Climate change. Severe drought struck the region. Corn crops failed. Food shortages followed. Deforestation. To support such a large city, countless trees were cut down for houses, fuel, and wooden defensive walls. The surrounding forests disappeared, and the land became unstable. Internal conflict. As resources declined, tensions increased. Archaeologists have found defensive walls and skeletons bearing signs of violent injuries. Another theory suggests the people did not suddenly die, they gradually dispersed into smaller groups and migrated elsewhere. They may have become the ancestors of later Native American tribes such as the Osage, Iowa, and Hidatsa. Today, this is no longer a city. It is a silent landscape. But history has honored it. In 1982, Cahokia Mounds was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site. When you visit today, you see vast green fields and enormous earthen mounds rising from the ground. The air is quiet. But if you listen closely, you might still hear echoes of that golden city, where thousands once traded in markets, children played in open spaces, and rulers watched the rising sun. This story reminds us that no civilization, no matter how powerful, is stronger than nature or its own mistakes. So friends, this was the story of America's lost city, Cahokia. How did you find this story? Let me know in the comments. If you haven't watched our previous video Who Were the First People of America, be sure to check it out. And in our next episode, we'll explore another mystery, the people who carved their homes into cliffs, the residents of Mesa Verde. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel USA Stories Hub.